Hello and welcome to this edition of Iron Sports, and I am Jermaine Brown. In this edition, we highlight the achievement of our historic female bobsled team. Yes, they're back home from the cold Pyeongchang, South Korea. And as usual, we also look at our weekly FIFA World Cup countdown. Let us know what you think by heading to our Facebook page, Iron Sports JA. We take a break, but stick around. When we come back, we might just be going on the ice. Soon come. And welcome back to Iron Sports. Now, recently, Jamaica's team of Kari Russell, Audrey Segree, and Jasmine Fenletta Victorian became the first females from the country to take part at the Winter Olympic Games. The ladies finished 19th overall in the two-woman sled that at the Games in Pyeongchang, South Korea. And of course, the feat of cool runnings continues. Joining the male team from Calgary in 1988 to participate at the event. Right then, so we have on set with us the entire team, missing, of course, just one, and that is Jasmine. All right, so Kari Russell, of course, she would have been the pusher. And we have Audrey Segree, and also Christian Stokes, the president of the Jamaica Bobsleigh Federation. Welcome, everyone, to Iron Sports, in from the cold.
Yes, yeah. Coming in from the cold.
But coming in from the cold with much fervor, I still hope, yes, because certainly the entire country was behind the team as you participated in Pyeongchang. Kari and Audrey, let me begin with you. Your first Winter Olympic Games. What was the experience like overall?
For me, it's one of the coldest places I've ever been. The coldest weather I've ever encountered in my life. Minus 21 one of the days, and that's like you try to talk with somebody and your mouth is like cannot open. You try to say something and it's coming out, but like it's numb. And but besides the weather and everything, after like a week, we got used to the climate and stuff, and we try to be us as Jamaican, which is relax and entertain ourselves and have fun at what we're doing. And we just try to do that throughout the games, even though the result is probably not what we want, but at the end of the day, we enjoy the games, and it's my first Olympics, and I must say, I couldn't have, I didn't want to experience it with nobody else, but the staff and team that we have, and the experience was a great one.
Audrey, we know you didn't get on the ice to compete, you would have been the reserve, but from where you stood, what was it like?
Well, it was excited, I would say. Like, the crowd was behind us 100%. You know, on the social media, Jamaica was with us. So, you know, we feel at home, we feel, you know, welcomed. And, you know, we just wanted to go out there and do our best, and we did that. So everything else was okay for the entire team, yeah.
Chris, in terms of, when you look back, could the Federation have done anything different in terms of the build-up to the games?
You know, we are looking back, and you always want to say, okay, maybe you have done this if you had started earlier, or you know, done this differently. But what I can say is that as we took on the journey and obstacles came up, as opportunities came up, we acted very quickly, very effectively in either dealing with obstacles or taking advantage of opportunities. You can't predict things ahead, you know, you can connect it looking back. But what I will say is that as we went on the journey and we came upon particular situations, I think we acted quickly and effectively, and it, you know, caused us really to take advantage of the opportunities that we had and to overcome the challenges that we faced as well.
And speaking of challenges, let me get to it. There was some controversy still at the games too, as it pertains to that infamous sled. The team's driving coach was, I don't know, it's relegated to another position, but her position was changed, and it did create some controversy ahead of the games, Chris. When looking back at that incident in particular, go ahead and just clarify for us.
I don't clarify is right word. I mean, it's very simple, really. We had a coach, Sandra Kiriasis, who really contributed a lot to the development of the team. She gave us a contact to get the sled that we got. She was very effective. But you have to understand that when that team gets together, both the coaching staff and the athletes, everybody there is elite in their own right. You know, Joe Manning, our high performance director, best at what she does. Dudley Stokes, really the best in the world at what he does. And Sandra Kiriasis, who came in as a driving coach. And then you have Jasmine, who is a elite athlete in her own right. And these two ladies with me who are elite athletes in their own right. When you have a room full of stars like that, it's important that everybody plays their role. So if Kari now decides that she's going to be the driver, Rafa said, Kari, you need to brake, right? Or if you know, Audra now says, listen, I'm going to be in charge of the sled. I said, no, you have to push on the
So is it that case where she wanted to be more than just a driving coach?
Much more, and it was, you know, we worked with it, we tried to work with it because she brought a lot of value. But for that entire thing to work, everybody would have to really stay in their lane to create the synergy. And we were faced with a situation we had to say, you know, Sandra, this is what we want you to do. And it wasn't enough for her. And to be fair with her, the system that she comes from, the German system, it's all about the coach and the pilot. In our system, Audra is as important as Jasmine, you know, and Kari is as important as Jasmine, and they are both as important as each other, which is, I admit, is a little different, but we don't encourage prima donnas on our team. Everybody has their role to play, and that was a little, you know, destabilizing. But we, without a doubt, we took the right decision, without prejudice to anybody.
Kari, in the end, how did this impact the performance of the team?
Well, like, for me personally, I was trained to be an athlete, and that's our job, to go and entertain and compete and enjoy what we do. So for me, I always say this, like the past week, everybody keep asking, I said, listen, I don't know what happened with the federation and the management team and what goes on in that avenue. If they say today there is no training, I know that there is no training, and I respect that, and I go and rest because it must be a reason. And if they say, okay, today you have 2 training sessions, I know why I have 2 training sessions. I asked the question, and they said, okay, you have gym, you have sliding sessions, and I respect that, and I know that I have to do it. So for me, whatever is there for us to do, we do and move on. So my job is not to think about sled, not to think about choice of runners and stuff like that. My job is to push, and that's what I'm here to do, push. And so for us as athletes, that's what we try to do. We try to keep our nose in what in our affair.
Yeah, what concerns you.
What concerns us, and just do, because in our little bubble, we think there was no issue, there's nothing. Because people say we don't have a sled, we have a sled. People keep people say all kind of stuff, and to us, we know what we have, and we in our little bubble, and we try to enjoy what we're doing.
And speaking of that sled, Chris, just take this up. We now own that sled, yes?
Yes.
Right. And is it the first sled that we're owning like that?
Owning outright like that
Yes.
is, we owned 2 Dresdens in the early 2000s, but it's certainly the highest quality sled we have ever owned. But you know, I have to chuckle a little bit at what Kari says, because you know, we're in the village and we're doing our training,
right?
And everything is going on, and then somebody run up to you and say, the team is in crisis, and I'm like, really? I mean,
You're like, what?
Yeah, you don't have any sled to train. I said, well, we just finished training, you know. Or whatever. So it's interesting to me, and it's interesting. And I haven't discussed this with the athletes before, but it's interesting that Kari had that point of view. But yeah, this is a sled that we use to qualify. It's a really high quality sled. It's extremely finicky. It's built to go fast, not to withstand, you know, the rigors of
and
a
this is the
development
Latvian-made sled, right?
Latvian-made BTC.
By the way, what is the situation now with the Japanese?
Okay, good question. We used their sled for the World Cup, for the America's Cup race. We were out of qualification. We did not have access to the sled for our first World Cup race. We were fortunate enough to have gotten the BTC that we just finished speaking about. And, you know, pilot and brakeman alike said, listen, this is a different world. All of a sudden, instead of coming 7th on America's Cup, we're coming 7th on the World Cup. And we're like, whoa, you know. And we are right back into qualification zone, which we were out of before. But we did have an agreement to use their sled. And
At the games?
At the games.
Right.
Well, really for the World Cup, in the spirit of the cooperation and the games. What we ran into problems when, from a sporting point of view, the sled was...
Misfiring?
It was not a fast sled, can I say that? And it was it was not a fast sled. But the big problem that we ran into close to the end of the time coming up to the games is that it got an adverse marks from the Materials Commission of the international body, which essentially said the sled is illegal, so we could not have used it.
All right. Well, we're going to push into a break. And when we come back, we'll pick up with that situation regarding the use or the non-use of the Japanese sled in Pyeongchang. So soon come with lots more here on Iron Sports.